but somewhere way far away, this pinprick of light came, and it appeared, and it rushed toward me and filled my vision with light, and it made this faster than the speed of light. This distance was the size of the universe, and it transected this in a snap. And I see all of our universe. I'm in the middle of it, and I see all these galaxies and great spaces between them, and my vision is brought to its origin. And in the origin of the universe, I see this darkness, and this darkness is the same infinity into which I cannot see, but out of this darkness is light flowing. I'm going through like a chronology of my life from the inside of every single person in my life review who I have hurt in my life. I am experiencing the pain that I gave them to a level that I had no idea. It was showing me love that I cannot explain to you. Unconditional love of an unlimited nature. And its compassion was so great that I felt so small in comparison. So I wasn't judged. All I was shown myself and loved. And so although I felt like I was the most important being in all the universe, I saw the same was true for every human being.
This is Beyond with Heather Tesch, where we examine near-death experiences and life itself, hopefully making this life a little better.
Hello to all of you. I am so happy you are here today. As you know, I've had so many spectacular guests with just marvelous stories, but every now and again, one really stands out. And that is the case with Peter Panagore. Such a great guy. I did an interview with him when my show was very new. There weren't a lot of eyes on it. And I really want to share it with you once again. So I've got a new edited version of it. It's all in one. Before I had it broken into 4 parts. And it's going to go over all of the most fascinating parts of his story. Peter is just a genuine, great, amazing guy. And he had this mind-blowing experience. That's what I would call it. We'll see what you think. Here it is.
I went ice climbing, which changed my life entirely. I should also add that in my family situation, my sister had run away when I was 14, and from our perspective, she had vanished, and it caused, as in many families, we had a lot of trauma in my family. And so I was actually in Montana, getting away from my family so that I could be by myself and not in the turmoil. And I didn't want to go home that March to spring break, so I went on an 8-day snow caving, 2-day drive, 1-day ice climbing trip with a fellow who I met through the outdoor club, who had complementary skills. He was also winter worthy. I'd been backpacking also in the winter since I started out in Boy Scouts, so it was not a new environment. It was a new environment, like I was in the Rocky Mountains, but I'd been in mountains before in the cold. So that's my background with that. I was there because I didn't want to go home, and we had this great snow caving trip. We skied back with 70-pound packs, skied into the wilderness, dug out our snow caves, stayed a little bit in a cabin, had some adventures, learned to trust each other in the wilderness. We were in the middle of the real wilderness, the Canadian, nobody around, for nobody coming to rescue you for a very far distance. And we had a great time. It was super. And then we went on this ice climb, and my climbing partner, Tim, was a certified lead climber, having just completed his course in this. And he had all the gear and I didn't. And I came up with everything I could. I had everything necessary except I came up with an axe and a hammer, and this was the thing that I convinced Tim to allow me to climb with inappropriate gear. You're supposed to have 2 axes, and so that when you swing your axe, you have a longer grip like a longer reach, I should say. And also you can rest on your axe, set that thing in the ice and rest. Hammer is much shorter. It's like I'm turning because the head in my imagination is right next to my hand, and you can use it to climb, but you can't, but it's a shorter reach, and, the strap to hold it onto your wrist so you don't drop it is at the bottom of the handle, so you can't ever let go. This situation that I talked him into combined to me making the climb at twice the slower speed than everybody else. And by the time we neared the top of the climb, the sun was aiming to set, and we already knew the situation was grave. And when we reached the top at sunset and the temperature dropped 30 degrees, hypothermia began almost immediately, initial symptoms. And that cascaded through the night as the temperature continued to drop and the darkness got deeper. There was starlight, so we could see by starlight, which is, if you live in the city, it's hard to imagine, but you can. There's so many stars so far north, so far away, that on a full star night with the galaxy showing, you can see in the dark. And that is what enabled us to make this perilous traverse and to 3 rappels down with open space beside us, on ice in the dark, with hypothermia stealing our capacity for reason, because it freezes your brain, and also steals your coordination, stole my coordination while it was beginning to freeze me. Then this pressure of the cold with the added pressure of we were out of food, because this was a day climb and nobody brought extra food up. So our bodies began to consume themselves rather rapidly toward the end. Rapidly, it usually takes a lot longer for that to happen, but we were expending our energy to get off the mountain while using hyper focus so that every move that we made was as careful as possible to not fall. And also, with the cold stealing our energy, and yet the only thing we had to keep ourselves warm was our remaining energy and our movement. So we had this lots of different pressures on us that were aiming us toward this demise that we were fighting against. We made mistakes. It stole our reason. I'm going to skip a lot of the high adventure stuff. It's in the book. I'm going to cut to the chase of the dying part. There's a lot of things that happened. Sometimes hope, but never help. So we finally made it to the final descent. We're at the top of this last rappel. We're 150 feet up. There are iron pins in the mountain, epoxied in with rings and carabiners and straps. And I'm harnessed to this, and Tim is harnessed to my left. We're standing on the ledge of like the size of half the size of one of those big corporate boardroom tables that you see on television, like half the size of that. And below us is a steep, drop. And around the corner, there's a corner to this. I had the rope, and I had tied one into my harness, tossed the other bitter end out around this corner to pull it down from the ring that was above. But the rope somehow on the first pull jammed, and now we were stuck. We couldn't descend and we couldn't descend. And so now I kept pulling on the rope, but to no avail. It kept getting tighter and tighter, the jam, wherever it was. And meanwhile, all these pressures that I mentioned were piling on us. So we're on this cliff. We're clipped in. The moon had risen, so we could see a little bit better. And you could hear the Saskatchewan River, which was just across the road, like not even 100 yards away. On the Icefields Parkway, and there was this beautiful scene, and I'm pulling on the rope, and I get hot, and I unzip my coat. I know better. I'm in the ski patrol, but I don't care because I've lost my reason. I begin to realize at that point that I'm going to die, and there's nothing that I can do about it. And my animal survival single-mindedness went away. It closed, or it vanished. It was gone. And I had this a piece of acceptance settle on me. And I started looking out toward the river and looking at the mountain across the way and thinking about my family and because I was raised in the Christian tradition, God, but more about my connection that I started when I was a child. I had an understanding of who I was. I wished that I wasn't dying because my parents were going to lose another child, but there's nothing I could do. And then I began to fall asleep, and I fell asleep a number of times, like a curtain on a stage dropping to darkness, and the whole place goes black. And then I would smack on the rock. I'd wake back up. I'd stand up and pull on the rope. This happened several times. And then I stood up, and then there was this big peripheral blackness in a circle around my vision. And this big peripheral blackness began to close in rapidly like a tunnel. And as it closed in, I looked around. It got smaller and smaller. I didn't understand. I was like, what is this thing? I'd never seen such a thing. And it went, poof. And as it went to dark, I thought to myself, I must be falling asleep. Only I didn't fall asleep when it went to dark. All of my pain was gone. Cold and hypothermic frostbite cold is like a fire. It's like sticking your hand in a bed of coals until it stops hurting. And that happens too. But it was like I was on fire for most of my body, and that pain was gone in an instant. And I was wondering where I was. I knew I wasn't on the mountain anymore. I wondered where the mountain had gone. And in front of me was this immense darkness, that extended to infinity. I couldn't see the end of it, but somewhere way far away, this pinprick of light came and it appeared and it rushed toward me and filled my vision with light, and it made this faster than the speed of light. This distance was the size of the universe, and it transected this in a snap, and it filled my vision. And as it came to me, it communicated to me directly that I'm taking you. So this being enveloped me, and this envelopment was familiar to me because I'd been inside this orb of consciousness as a child several times. But this time I was severed from my body. This time there was no silver cord, the so-called silver cord of connection. That was gone. And I was no longer I was not a human being. I had the shape of a human, but my substance wasn't molecular. It was energy light. I was a being of light. I was a light being in my shape, in my form. And I didn't have a brain. And this entity was pouring intelligence. It was showing me its immense intelligence. It gave me comfort. It took away all of my agency. And I was locked inside of this with 100% comfort as it spoke to me in like a whisper. I love you. I'm giving you comfort. Come with me. All these sorts of things. And it was superpositioned. So it was, and everything I'm talking about is metaphor, but there's also some superpositioning in it. It was both this reduction, and a limited form of light that I knew, that I could relate to, still immensely much more powerful than me by a factor of 1,000,000 or 1,000,000,000,000. But it was also less than the fullness of the divine. And in it, as I heard its voice, I also heard the voice of the divine. I felt the presence of the infinite. So it was both this unlimited and this limited at the same time. And I could sense its original nature. And meanwhile, as I'm being carried back up this shaft to the divine, I can see myself inside this entity. I am also superpositioned. I am outside it. I am seeing my light body inside. I'm seeing the shape and size of this immense containment of me that's transparent and translucent. And I, on the light body on the inside, can see out into the darkness, but I can't see my own eye seeing me. I am this other eye seeing myself inside. And from inside, I can't see the eye that's seeing me, but I know in my consciousness that I am both this immensity and this reduction. And scooting right up to the top there, and this entity unfolds, and I am now inside this. In Christian language, I'd be in the belly of the whale. But this whale, this divine being, is the size of our universe. It's this cosmos of darkness, of no-thingness. And I'm in a timelessness, and I am expanded. And no longer am I a light body. I am an orb of consciousness. And my consciousness is my being, and my being is my thinking. And I have no language. There's no concepts I'm thinking in. I'm thinking with my beingness, and I don't know how to explain this, but there's beyond language, and I am also my seeing. I can see in every direction at once, and I am my feeling, and what I feel is comfort, and what I know is myself. I know that this is my original self. I know that this is who I am. I know that my human self, my recent human self, was not actually me, that this has always been me. It's not like I was that and then I'm this, or I was this and then that and then this again. I've always been this. This is myself, and I am in contentment, and I'm in comfort, and I can see in all these directions, but there is a point at which beyond the darkness becomes so dark that I can't penetrate it with my super meta soul capacities. There's an infinity that is dark to me, but I am not afraid of it. But I see that it is also the source, and I am inside of it. And then it opens, and like a rip or a tear or a waterfall or a doorway, and it shows me the light that is inside it. And this light is the most beautiful, the most seductive, the most desirous, the reflection of that I am made of, and I move toward it. And as I move toward it with thought, I'm moving at the speed of thought. I think it, I want it, I go to it, and it moves toward me. And it is, I'm big. Okay. I'm immense in comparison to my human size. This is so much bigger. It's ginormous, but not as big as the infinite that I'm inside of. And it's again, two things at once. It's more than two things. But in terms of color, it's two things at once. It's white light, but it's also all of the colors of all of the stars I'd seen that night. And not flipping from one to the other, but like a 0 and a 1 in a quantum computer, it is both at the same time. And it's not just the colors of the stars, it's all of the frequencies that the human eye can't see. It's the X-rays and the infrareds and ultraviolets. And it's not just those, it's so many more colors than I can even describe to you. And it has this surface layer, it's got this transparency and depth, and it's got this translucentness. So I can see through it, I can see into it, and I can see the surface. And all of these things exist at the same time. And I want it, and it comes right to me, and I touch it with my being. And as I touch it with my being, I tear open, and it pours in. And as it infills me, all these things happen at the same time. I am inside of it, and it is surrounding me, and it is inside of me. And it's like suddenly I'm on the glare eye of an all-knowing, all-seeing, all-penetrating, no hiding, no shadowy places, no cellar, no attic, no closets, totally illuminated, being seen as a human being. I see all of my life as my human self, and there are no hidden places. And as I try to hide these hidden places, they all are shown. I can't hide them. And as they're shown to me, I am in them. And when I'm in them, I'm going through like a chronology of my life from the inside of every single person in my life review who I have hurt in my life. I am experiencing the pain that I gave them to a level that I had no idea that it felt like. All their emotions, their psychology, their chemicals running through their bodies, their jealousies, their angers, their hatreds. And I am simultaneously, again, I'm superpositioned. I'm in my own human self experiencing in a chronology all of the reasons and emotions I had and actions I did for causing this pain. So I'm in these two places, and the divine knows. People talk about the Akashic records and the book of life. I am the freaking book of life. I myself am my own book of life. And so is everybody else. And the divine, the ultimate, unlimited knows because it is us. It's not like looking up there taking notes. It is the experience I was having. And I was making choices of causing pain. And this pain that I experienced was shameful to me, but not shameful because I was a bad person. It was shameful because I was less than the divine itself, because simultaneous to this, it was showing me love that I cannot explain to you. Unconditional love of an unlimited nature. And its compassion was so great that I felt so small in comparison. So I wasn't judged. All I was shown myself and loved as I was in every circumstance. So I'm causing all this pain, and its voice is saying to me without sound or language, I love you. I've always loved you. I loved you. And not like, oh, I loved you when you did that and when you did that, sort of like that, but in the present tense. I love you as you do these things. It wasn't like they had happened and I was looking back through a book or a movie. I was in them, and it loved me in them in every moment. And then it showed me all of humanity and all of humanity's brokenness. And there was no, this person is worse than this person, or I'm better than that person. It's because all of this humanity had this limited nature in comparison to the unlimited. And so my point of view shifted from I'm better than you and my sins are less than yours kind of point of view to I am just this human being who is living in this, and this is an analogy, this is a metaphor, in this coded universe that I didn't write the code for. And I am part of this much larger system of living inside of brokenness from, if the most powerful star in our galaxy swung toward us with its magnetic radiation, it would burn Earth up in a blink of an eye. That is part of the brokenness of that I share, that microbes share. It is this reduction, this less than the ultimate being itself. And so even though I made these choices to cause this pain, also it wasn't my fault. And that's why I was still beloved, because I didn't write the program. But in order to accept the light, I had to merely listen to it. And when I listened, when my focus shifted from my own, when my focus shifted from my own self and my own pain and swung to listening to the voice of love and light, all of that went away. And this forgiveness that had always been on offer. It wasn't like, oh, I'll forgive you when. The forgiveness was built into the very structure and nature of my existence and all existence. And when that happened, I could hear my name being called, and it wasn't Peter. It was the essence of the original self that I am being called into being in the now and eternally. And all these things happened at the same time. And so I hear my soul self being called into being. I inflate in bliss and beauty, love, paradise, knowledge, understanding, truth, joy, adoration, peace. And I expand with this infilling of this unitive love of light. I see myself as my original self, and I'm like a photon, superpositioned with a zillion, gazillion, septillion, bazillion times infinity number of individual photons, the them, of great depth and height and width and breadth. And I am one of them. It's like I had a cord to them, but I was also outside of them. And the fullness of the oneness was in me, in the Christian language, in the image of the divine. I am a photon, one of a bazillion of them. And while this is going on, I see like a lower, lesser self of me. And this lower, lesser self of me is the self of me that is incarnating into all of these previous lives. And so I see this long stack of all these previous lives, and all of them are like kebab spears, and this is how I'm using, this is my analogy these days, a kebab spear and a ginormous baguette. And I am the baguette. And the kebab spears are their lives I'm living, but my nature extends before, beyond, above, and below any of my incarnations. And the length of my self is eons long. And this self is also a little less than my photonic, almost union self. And so I've got these layers to myself. And as I look down, I see inside, two of my incarnations. And so I see inside two incarnations. I'm flown down, and I'm put inside this body, and I'm a man, and I'm dressed in, like Eastern clothes. Could have been the Levant. It could have been India. I don't know where I was, but there were palm trees and there were little houses. And it's a dirt road. I'm walking with a bunch of buddies, and it's obvious to me that we're all spiritual people, and we're poor, and we're somehow together. And I'm seeing through these eyes, and I can hear the language being spoke, but I can't understand the language. And if I did understand it when I was there, I have no idea what it is now, because I've only came back with like a thimbleful of what actually happened to me. And then I was out of this life, and I was into another life. And in this life, I don't know what I was. I was a lizard on a tree branch, and everything looked completely strange to me. And I don't know whether I was on Earth or I have no idea. All I know is that I was not a human being, and that I had this sort of lizardly feeling. And then I was out of that, and I lived in these incarnations, and I saw all of these different lives I had lived, and what I understood is that I was none of them. I'd never actually been any of them. And although they impacted the bread loaf, they weren't actually me. Only I am me. I am this photonic, superpositioned being that is one of the many, part of a section of the oneness. And then that part of my experience sort of ended, and I got reduced back to this self that could see my humanity, my recent humanity, and in this state I saw, felt, understood the loss of my parents again. And I said to the divine, "Am I dead?" And the voice said, "Yes, you're dead." And I said, "Well, apparently I haven't gone all the way through yet, because I can still, remember this thing with my folks, and what about them?" And the voice kept saying to me all the time, it mixed into this love was this welcome. Come home, welcome, 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 welcome. And there's this end of suffering, this wholeness and healing and wellness and well-being and times a million. And I think about my parents, and I'm swept across this darkness. I'm still in this no-thingness that is also illuminated. So I'm swept across this gigantic, illuminated nothingness. And part of my consciousness is sort of poked through this energetic field where this heaven becomes, this realm, this dimension becomes our universe. And so part of me is sticking out, like looking around, and I see all of our universe. I'm in the middle of it, and I see all these galaxies and great spaces between them. And my vision is brought to its origin. And in the origin of the universe, I see this darkness, and this darkness is the same infinity into which I cannot see, but out of this darkness is light flowing, and there is light flowing from this darkness, and this light is weaving itself into and as part of this other kind of darkness. But this other kind of darkness becomes the matter of the universe. And so woven inside all these galaxies, and I see some up close, and I can see the weaving of the light that is hidden within all matter. And as it's showing me this, it's speaking love to me. It's speaking, this light is love woven inside of everything. It's showing me its own infinite nature of love as much as I can contain, because there's still this infinity into which I cannot penetrate, but there's so much love pouring out for all that there is. And as it's pouring out our universe, it's popping out universe after universe after universe after universe. There's like thousands of them unveiling from its own self. And I am inside ours, and inside ours, all of the love that is concentrated and all of our universe is aimed at me. And I become the same immense love itself. And then it swings around and it shows me our galaxy and our planet. And I see Earth in like a hologram, but it's in live time. And there's dark night and it's raining in places and it's sunny in places. And there are babies being born and there are ships on the ocean and there's life going on. And I see inside of every single human being this same light that is woven through all things. And this same light is the heart and core, which is my same original self. It is the photonic center of every being that exists. And in them, it says to me, in the way that I love you with this immense love, I love all of myself. I love all who have this light inside them, with a radical equality. And so although I felt like I was the most important being in all the universe, I saw the same was true for every human being, and that Earth was covered with this fog, and this fog was impenetrable to the inner eye of the divine being, and nobody could see this inside them as I could see it. They had it, they were it, they are beloved, they were beloved, but people were blind to it. And then I saw my parents' faces. They kind of rose up from North America, and I could see mom and dad, two sets of moms. A set of mom, dad, and another set of mom, dad. And in the first set of mom, dad, I'm with them in that life. I see the rest of their lives with me, and I see their suffering. And in the mom, dad, number 2 group, I see their lives without me. And their suffering is just magnified. It's broken bodies everywhere and pain. And I see their deaths. And their deaths of group 1 and group 2 are the same death. It's not how they die, but in their death, they're in the same beloved state that I'm in. And I understand the length of my human life is the snap of a finger, and the voice says to me, choose. And I say, if I go back, can I come back here? And the voice said, yes, you come back here. And I should add also that I wanted to understand all of the knowledge of all of the universe. And so I had this download of the structure of how time and molecules and chemistry, all this knowledge was available to me. And still there was this impenetrable part of the infinite that I couldn't see into. And so I had this immense trust of this promise. Yes, you can come back here. And I said, well, if I can come back here and I know that human life is the wink of an eye, I choose to live my life. And the voice says, you won't live your life, and threw me out. And as I get thrown out, I'm back inside this angelic being, which is the divine itself. And it keeps reducing and reducing. And I get smushed and smushed and smushed. And there is a million doors in front of me. And in the center of all of these doors is a beam of immense white light. And this white light, as I look back through this transparent being, is emanating out of the infinity. And it is illuminating all of these doors, sort of super bright in the middle and then fading out to the outer edges of these billion doors. And the voice says to me, choose light. And I am inside of this, very tightly contained and speaking right to me. And I choose to be, I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to be a communicator. I wanted to bring the message. I wanted to be flawed. I wanted to have fun. I made all these choices, and this door opened, not in the center of the white light, but off to the side of it, still in the brightness, but not in the center, which is what I was being encouraged to choose, which is what I refused to do. And I chose instead some sense of self. And the door opened, and down this tunnel I went, and inside this tunnel there were a million doorways. And all of these doorways led to all of these other tubes of lives that I could live by choices that I make. I then get to the end of it, and I'm at the end of it, and the door opens, and meanwhile I can still see the beam of light coming, and I'm now at my body, and I'm outside my body, and I am, densified. I'm back to my body of light again. This shape of, I had some substance to me, but I was out of control. I was a Raggedy Ann doll in a river. I was like being done to. I had no choices at this point. And I'm sort of dangling on the edge of the cliff. I can see myself. I get the harness. The harness is, the strap is tight to the mountain. And Tim is bent down over me, grasping me close to my face, screaming, but I can't hear him. I don't hear. I just see this scene, and I can feel his. I can see his emotion, but I am completely unaffected by it. I'm like, oh, look at that guy. Oh, look at that body. And then the divine pierces my body's chest and opens me and drives me inside, and like forces me, and like I felt like I was being twisted inside. And then I'm stuffed inside this thing, much reduced. And I can see out of that same hole, and there is this entity that I can see back, and I can see back to the edge of infinity, but it closes. And now I'm stuck. I'm trapped. I feel encased, and I feel my brain come on like a whirring motor, and I begin to hear sounds. I begin to feel my body shake, and pain returns immediately. And I am astounded by pain and suffering. I'm like, oh, this is what I signed up for. I didn't mean to do this. This was a total mistake. I want to go back. Take me back. I don't want to be here. I want what I had. What happened to what I had? Why am I so reduced? All of this going on inside of me. And I begin to hear, don't die, don't die, don't die, don't die, don't die. And I open my eyes, and there's Tim, and he suddenly sees that my eyes are open. It's like, don't, and he's still saying, don't die, don't die. And then he's like, you were dead, you were dead, you were dead, you were dead. I thought you were dead. And he pulls me up, and he's talking to me, and I'm like, what is going on here? Who is this guy? What is this thing? And where am I? And I begin to remember as he's talking to me, and gets me to pull the rope. It's after some time, and the rope comes free, the first pull, and it's either a miracle. That's what a lot of people want to say, and I'm not sure. Maybe it was because of the angle I fell on the cliff. I don't really know. All I know is that the rope came free, and that's good enough for me. And we descended, and because the car was right across the street in the parking lot, we got our tent, and we self-treated. for hypothermia and brought our temperatures back up to a level where we could get in the car and turn on the heater. There are dimensions that we know of in science that are proven of multidimensionality. These other heavens, if you listen to lots of near-death experiences, you'll hear of a number of types of experiences. Some people pop out of their body and they see themselves and they pop back in. Where are they when they're out of their body in this place where nobody can see them, but they can see everybody else? They're in a different realm. They have a conscious body. They're in a different level of our reality. Then there are the people who go to this sort of semi-corporeal place where there are colors and butterflies and a field or a house, and there's sort of this structure to it. And then there are people that go into this, they go off into somewhere into the cosmos, and they're like surrounded by galaxies or stars, and they meet this other group of elders or their soul family or something. And then there are people like me, and there's probably lots I don't know about, but then there are people like me who go to this place of non-being. And so within even the stories of near-death experience, there are levels of realms. And I can't prove any of this. I'm not here to try to argue theologically or pull out my test tubes and show you where this thing is with, some kind of radiograph or whatever I'm using. I can't prove it. All I have to show, and all any near-death experiencer has to show, is how they live their lives. That's it. And how they respond, and how they relate, and how they grow.
And why do you think there are such different experiences?
Well, this guy named Mishlove, Dr. Mishlove, won a $500,000 prize last year from the Bigelow Foundation for Consciousness Studies. This billionaire set up this foundation to give $1 million prize a year for research by scientists into near-death experience. And Mishlove won this prize. And in his paper, he talks about that 70% of the people he surveyed, he talked about lots of things, but the thing that jumped out at me was that 70% of the people he surveyed, hundreds of people, talked about two words, light and love. And that those two things, light and love, are most important to us as near-death experiencers. The variety of experiences we have are secondary to the experience of light and love. To us, to me, it's the secondary thing. If I step back and look at my NDE, a portion of my NDE, my life review is very Christian, up until the point at which I'm not judged. God isn't the judge in what happened to me. I judged myself. But it has aspects of Christianity in it. And why is that? I ask myself. Why did I go to hell and other people don't? I'm not like, why did I go to hell and he didn't have to? Not like that at all. It's why me, not them. I don't know. What I think is this, is that the divine is compassion. My experience of the divine is compassion, and gave me the experience that I needed, whether I came back to life or I stayed in heaven. I was shown what I needed for my evolution, for my advancement. And so maybe it's God is so compassionate that God comes to us, the source of all being comes to us in ways that are best for us, best for our learning. And one way I think about this is the people who go into a hellish experience and don't get out before they come back. They come back from hell. And what you see in their lives is a reformation of action. They become new people. They become born again. And what they experienced changes how they live. And I think this is true for all of us. And my experience is, my two experiences, one is short and one is immense. In both of them, love and light dominate. In neither of them does my explanation to myself of what happened to me even approximate what I feel on the inside. Every story that every NDEer tells is a construction of their mind. And this has been true in mysticism in every tradition around the world, whether you look at the Upanishads or the Gospels. Each mystical experiencer struggles to put into language that which cannot be spoken. And so every NDEer, the brain of the NDEer, takes the experience and uses the tools that it has to interpret and understand what happened to it. Because when you're dead, you don't have a brain. There's no interpretive faculty through which the experience filters. But there is when you come back. And I think that the divine gives us what we need. And everybody's individual.
And when you say that you experienced hell, it was when you felt what you had done to other people. In fact, in your book you wrote, it was hell inside of me, my personal hell. It was the hell I created for myself. And in that experience, you felt all the pain that you had ever created for another person. You also, though, felt the love that you had given to other people and the love that you had received from other people.
I did. Became the lens through which I saw my true self. And the weight of the love that I gave away and that was given to me far outweighed my misdeeds. It was not even in any measurable proportion. Because the same love with which I loved others and the love with which they loved, the love that they gave to me was the same, originated and was from the divine love. God, I love God because God loved me first, is one of the sayings in Christian Protestantism. The love that was given to me became, when I saw the love of, how do I say this? That the treasure of my life became apparent to me in the seeing of the suffering that I caused. And the treasure of my life was all the love given to me. And when I saw that love, my orientation toward love became instantaneous. The power of the overwhelming power of the presence of love was irresistible to me. It was, and I know that being swallowed up in a tidal wave or in a flood, these are scary, negative ideas, because you never see in a movie where it's a good thing. But the immersion of the power of the gentle flood of love was so immense and overwhelmingly incomprehensible and giving and welcoming that nothing stood against it. Not even my own weak little links of karmic pain that I caused that created this chain locking me to myself. Nothing stood in its way. And so as I live my life, I know that I hurt other people. I have hurt other people. I expect that I will hurt other people. I try to mitigate that to the best of my ability, but I'm a human being. And I also know that all the love that I share and is given to me remains the treasure that I carry with me. I can't take my gold bricks through the pearly gates with St. Peter. But the love weighs nothing, and it has no substance, but it is the treasure of all that there is, there and here. And some pains are not fleeting. Some pains are deep. Some pains last a long time because it's usually from the people that you love. And that's the hardest part of all. And so then whenever this thing arises in me, and I'm like, oh, that time that person hurt me. And then they hurt me again when I was 7. And then it was, and I can run through a litany, or I can interrupt that litany with my own thoughts and say, take a breath. Remember the peace. Take the pain that I feel and transmute it and breathe out peace toward them. And the reason why I do this is because I saw my own suffering when I died. And I saw the suffering of humanity. I recognize that I'm just like everybody else, and everybody else is just like me. I respond through my traumas. I respond through my own pain. I respond through my own egoic attachments. And they do too. And why should I blame them for that? And if I don't blame them for that, and I'm in this long practice of not blaming myself for that, it's a much, it's a pattern I live in my life that's driven by this desire to lessen the hell that I need to go through again to get home again. If I do have to go through the purgative fire of love again, I want to make that as small as possible. Not because I'm afraid of it, but because I just want to get home faster. And part of getting home faster is bringing that here now to me as I live. And part of that bringing that here now, bringing heaven here now for me, is as best as I can to treat all with kindness and compassion, but not be a milksop, and not be a doormat, and not let people stand on me. And I know that I'm not alone. I know that there are tens of millions of near-death experiencers and other kinds of mystical experiencers, people who have had shared death experiences and out-of-body experiences and visitations from the dead, all of these experiences that contain light and love. We are all these individual nodes at the end of our own fiber optic cable, bringing light into the world. And I know that I'm just one of us. But I have a goal and a mission. And my goal and the mission is to get everyone to speak. If only to the people you love, if only where you are. Because the more of us that talk about these events in our lives, the more normalized it becomes in the public square, the more normalized it becomes, the first chance we have in the history of humanity to bring this ineffable love forward, whether we're Iraqis or Israelis or Russians or Ukrainians or Chinese or Japanese or Argentinians, it doesn't matter. All over the world, there are people who are experiencing this light and this love, who only need an opportunity or to have the courage to say so to the ones they love. And when they do this, you may discover that the people in your family have had similar experiences that they're keeping to themselves. So there's this level of communication. We have the internet. We have shows like yours, Heather, where we can speak. But there's this other thing that happens too, because the light speaks for itself. You know it when you feel it. And for some reason, some people don't feel it. They don't know it. Maybe there's a biological thing. It's totally cool because they are beloved as well. In the end, they end up as the original light being itself, because that's all there is. That's like super good news. But in terms of our humanity, we're a blip on the planet when you look at the evolution of life. And if we are to survive, the strategies that we've used in the past have not succeeded for all of us. We are a single planet. We are a single race of people. Our cultures and our belief systems and our politics, they're all conceptions and decisions. They're not this thing itself. This thing itself inside us supersedes all of those. And the more of us that pursue this inside ourselves, the more it shows itself in the world. My choice of singleness and not the pursuit of my own manipulation of the energy in the world, manifesting what I want in the world, is because I know myself as not a human being. I am a temporary passenger here. I am this original self. This is my goal. This is myself. This is my frame of reference. The more we find this one light inside ourselves, the more opportunity we have for our species' survival. Christianity, Judaism, Zoroastrianism, Hinduism, all of them are founded by mystics. All of them. In the root of all of them, you'll find talk of oneness of being. And it comes in lots of different languages, it comes in lots of different forms, but it's always the same oneness. And when we find this inside ourselves, which is what all the masters were always teaching, when you find this inside yourself, and when it becomes real, experiential in you, it can become dominant. And when it becomes dominant, then love rules the heart. You still make mistakes, still have emotional responses, still have, the metallic feel of metal rushes to my mouth when I'm in a car wreck. But I'm not afraid of death. I'm not afraid of dying. My body still has responses. It doesn't eliminate those things. But what it does is that it changes relationship not only to the divine, but to the other people around you, and brings peace in a relatable, relational, mundane, everyday sort of way when you hold the door at the grocery store instead of slamming it in their face. And you do it to the person who tried to slam the door in your face. And you don't do it out of vengeance or revenge or I'm better than you. You do it because of love. Not because of the love in them, but because the love you live inside yourself. And it becomes this mountain base that one stands on, through which one sees everything there is. And it's the most powerful thing there is. Every single time a person loves another, it's like at the end of It's a Wonderful Life when they're all standing around the Christmas tree, this famous movie from the 1930s. And every time the bell rings, an angel, it gets its wings. Every time a person makes a choice for love and kindness and compassion, whether they're an atheist or whether they're a guru, the impact of karma is the same. Love becomes more manifest in the world.
Peter is the best. I just love him. Now, when I interviewed him, that was the first time that I had really met him. But since then, I have had the opportunity to get to know him better. And he's just such a great, down-to-earth, genuine person, really believable and trustworthy and just so kind. I hope you enjoyed his story as much as I did. I learned so much. First of all, he had this fascinating near-death experience, and then he just had other insights that I really enjoyed listening to him and just discovering some of the things that he has learned. So please share what stood out to you among the many things that he talked about. Or if you prefer just to say, I made it to the end, that's great too. As you know, any comment helps the channel. So thank you for those of you that do it week after week. And if you're new, I would appreciate a comment if you like. Also, do give it a like and share it with a friend if you know someone who may like my channel. I really appreciate those of you that support me. Another way to support me, by the way, is you can become a member now. It's totally up to you, but you can check it out if it's something that you are interested in. You can also buy merchandise. I do have a shop, so that's something you can check out too. And if you're interested in Peter's book, it's really good. I will have a link to that in the description. I've read it more than once. It is great, as I said. And you can just find out more information about Peter in the description as well. To find the description, you see the word more underneath the video. Click on that. And then there's another word more, and you can open it up even more. So that always has some great information in it, including links to all of my other fascinating guests that I've already had on. Please join me in the coming weeks and months. I have some fabulous guests. Remember, I do drop a new episode every single week, and right now that is on Thursdays. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. I'm really grateful for each and every one of you.
Thanks for joining me on Beyond with Heather Tesch. Please add comments and questions you'd like future guests to answer. Also, if you liked what you heard, please hit the thumbs up button and subscribe. That'll help keep this podcast going. You can also go to Beyond with Heather Tesch to look for more episodes.